is the tedious work that we have to do. And I think all the subcommittee chairs have got their packets and are able to explain their bills today. Let me just give you a quick overview of where we're looking on the appropriations process. First of all, what you see in front of you, as we have traditionally done, is LBR, Legislative Budget Recommendation. This comes from the Joint Legislative Budget Committee. The only changes that were made in JLBC to create our LBR, we added a few things. One of those was we put $32 million extra into the state health insurance plan. You know, last year we put $60 million in, attempting to keep the health insurance premiums at a reasonable number. And we put 32 million in LBR, and we're going to have to continue to look at the state health insurance to make sure that because of rising costs, that health insurance premiums don't jump too much. We put 12.3 million into child protective services for foster home and adoption services for the state. We put 2.4 million into the forensics laboratory to help with the backlog of some of the cases they have, some of the particularly criminal cases that they're dealing with. And then we put 1.4 million extra into homestead reimbursement to get up to the full amount. In fact, I think last year may have been the first year we've done homestead fully in a while, but it was an additional 1.4. And I think the total amount now is 92 million to the counties for the homestead reimbursement. I'm going to hopefully have tomorrow a worksheet. You know how traditionally we have a worksheet for you to look at for every agency at LBR. I'll have that tomorrow on the floor. And I think what I would do, unless you've got questions right now, is just kind of give a more comprehensive overview tomorrow about the agencies and their budgets as we're starting. And so I think we'll jump right into the bills now. And for the subcommittee chairs, if you want to take them up in block, you will not hurt my feelings. So you can move to take them up in block. And I would ask each of the subcommittee chairs, if you've got, thank you, if you've got any notable changes within your budgets, you can make those. Let me just say generally, so that they don't have to do this, we deleted any one-time funds that were put into budgets. That's normal. So if there are changes where you see a deletion because of a one-time expenditure last year, that has been removed already in this budget. And then you'll see many of them are reappropriated. Last year, of course, we had a lot of money that went into our budgets. And so many of these agencies are still working to utilize and spend the funds. So as requested, we have reappropriated those funds for their use, and particularly as it relates to ARPA. I think Senator Polk may talk about that, but the funds have been reappropriated in all these. Otherwise, I'll let the subcommittee chairs talk about any other substantive or technical changes that occur in their bills. So with that being said, I'll move to subcommittee 2, which is Senator Parks, and I'll recognize her to explain the bills. I thought I saw Senator Parks. She was sitting right where Senator Moran was. Okay, well, Senator Parks, we'll hold off on hers for a few minutes. We'll bump to Senator Wiggins with subcommittee 4. Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to describe, we'll take up Senate Bill 3011, which is the Department of Corrections. And my discussion will be for consolidated for all the different operations on that. We are going with the LBR, which the LBR is, so Senate action is 137,821,498. This does represent a 597,000 plus up over LBR. I'm sorry, over the estimate. There is a reverse repealer. We put in reappropriation language to cover some of the things that they had added from last year. The big request that we had was a 29,805,577 request due to a medical contract that was taken out by the Department of Corrections. This is not represented in this number. I will tell you there are more questions coming about this contract and why that amount is where it is. Also, we funded all the positions, added back to all the positions, and funded those positions due to the DOJ lawsuit and Marshall County and Walnut Grove becoming new state prisons. And we have funded the health increase that's requested. Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. Is that across the board where we funded the health increases for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So we have funded that. That's what that represents. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. If not, Mr. Chairman, my motion would be a title sufficient due pass.
I think one of the things, Senator Wiggins, is the medical invoices. We had some late medical invoices. I don't know if you got that information because I just got it recently. It's $755,172.91 for some FY 21 medical invoices. I thought we had caught up on the medical invoices from Department of Corrections, but apparently there were some late ones that had yet to be paid. So we put authorization language to pay those at the Mississippi Medicaid reimbursement rate too.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
As we know, one of the hugest, if that's a word, cost is the medical costs, which is what we're trying to figure out. We passed some legislation last year. All of that is trying to be worked out, but that tends to be a huge cost to the Department of Corrections.
Correct. So your motion, Senator Wiggins?
Title sufficient due pass.
Motion on Senate Bill 3011 is title sufficient due pass. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you're recognized for 3012.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Senate action is LBR 139,904,352. That is minus $6 million under the estimate. We have added in all the positions. We restored reappropriation language, and that includes money for bulletproof vests, the driver services system, and repairs and renovations to Melota. We did that last year. We had that reappropriation language in there. We also funded and filled positions that they asked for. We funded the sworn officer pay scale for FY 24 at $723,143. And again, we funded the health increase requests that were there. We have back the pins that they've requested. And we've also increased the funding for the case backlogs. I think the chairman mentioned that. So, yeah. And so we had 2.4 million for case backlog to address those. We've been working through that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, Senator.
My motion would be title sufficient due pass.
Motion is title sufficient due pass on Senate Bill 3012. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill will be reported. Moving to subcommittee number 5, Senator Delano, you are recognized.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take Senate Bill 3013, 3014, 3015, 3016, 3017, 3018 up in block.
Any member wishing to pull any of those bills out for discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the motion is to take them up in block. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you're recognized.
Members of the committee, this is the Department of Ag, the Animal Health Board, or the Board of Animal Health, MEMA's budget, their disaster recovery fund, the Military Department, Veterans Affairs Board, and the Veterans Affairs State Home System. Just so you know that everything will be at LBR. If you have any questions about any one of these budgets, I'll be glad to answer them at this time. Otherwise, just talk with me before we go out onto the floor about this. But everything is at LBR, and I will yield for any questions.
Any questions from committee members?
No questions. Move title sufficient due pass.
Motion is title sufficient due pass. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Delano. Moving to subcommittee 6, Senator Norwood, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I'd like to take up Senate Bill 3019 and 3020 Ethics Commission and Judicial Performance. I'd like to take them up in block.
Does any member wish to pull a bill aside for discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to take them up in block. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Both in this Ethics Commission and the Judicial Performance Commission, both were funded at LBR, which is Ethics Commission 681-788, the Judicial Performance 726-50506. Both are the at LBR. This time I entertain any questions. If not, on motion title sufficient to pass.
Thank you, Senator Norwood. Keep in mind, we did a slight deficit appropriation for Ethics Commission, and my expectation is we'll probably have to have, when we get down to the deadline, we'll probably have to increase their budget slightly on that, but let's see how it works over here the next month or so, and whether or not they're going to need additional money, or if they can help take care of the backlog with what we have sent or we're prepared to send in the deficit appropriation. But thank you, Senator Norwood. Do the members have questions? Hearing none, the motion from Senator Norwood is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving into subcommittee number 7, Senator Michelle, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My motion is going to be that we take subcommittee insurance and revenue up in block. That's Senate Bill 3021, 3022, 3023, 3024.
Any member wish to pull any of those bills for discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that 3021 be set aside so that I can be recorded as not voting on that bill.
Okay, we'll set aside 3021. Hearing no others, the motion then, Senator Michelle, is for 3022, 23, and 24 to be taken up in block. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you are recognized. You want to take up those 3 first and then come back to 21?
Yes, sir. I would like to.
Okay.
A rather large budget is our Department of Revenue. Our committee met twice with this group. We met in November, and we met again the first month of the session. Just to give you an idea of some of the things going on with the Department of Revenue, this is a year where they're going to be creating new car tags, and we're looking at about close to $6 million for that cost for creating new car tags to be distributed. The ABC warehouse is always a big subject. Unfortunately, with the cost of construction, what we thought we could get by with at $55 million a few years ago, based on what some other states have been spending on construction costs for their warehouses, we're looking at now more than around $100 million to build. That's if we build the size warehouse we are looking for. One of the interesting things that we have found is that wine represents 60% of the floor space in the warehouse, but only brings in 40% of the revenue. And it has extra costs associated with climate control. So one of the things we might look at is, do we really need that big of a warehouse if something happens with direct ship of wine? Another good thing about our labor market at the warehouse is that we thought we were going to be negatively affected by the Amazon plant hiring. That plant has gotten to 3,100 employees, I was told yesterday, from the projected 1,500, and it has not negatively affected our staff. So they are still operating at full capacity as fast as they can on getting the product out. That's the main items with the Department of Revenue. Another item just to bring to your attention is the Workers' Compensation Commission. We have a $75,000 cost projection for maintenance. And in that cost is a 35-year-old heating and cooling system and a 35-year-old roof that are both at their end of their life. So we're going to be looking at hopefully capital expense funds to pay for a new HVAC. And boy, if you get 35 years out of one, they've done a great job of maintaining that thing. But we feel it's bad money after good to spend $75,000 maintaining that system if we can replace them. And those are the main things that come to mind from our appeal. So I move title sufficient to pass on those items that are in block.
Thank you, Senator. Any couple of comments first. One is on the Workers' Comp Commission. Do you remember the number? I think I was told about it too, but what's the number on the cost of replacement for I think there were 200 heating and air.
400,000.
We did ADA in the deficit appropriation to get they were not ADA compliant. So we did that in the deficit appropriation, but there was heating and air and wasn't
Roof.
there? Roof.
Roof.
Okay.
Amazing that we got 35 years out of the roof, but it's at its useful, end of its useful life.
And how, those two together about 400,000? Okay.
400,000,
So that's
excuse
something
me,
we'll
yes.
have to look at as we go through the appropriations process. And then did you mention tax appeals board?
I did not.
Okay. And that their LBR, no comments?
They're struggling to get the salaries such, as you could imagine, the attorneys that they hire on the tax appeals board have to be very specialized, typically someone who's been a degree in tax law. And so we keep struggling with the salaries on allowing them to be able to fill those positions. It's real difficult offering $50,000 to somebody who's got a master's in tax. So we're working on that as well. But that's the main thing in that budget that jumps out at me.
Okay. And then the last thing on the Department of Revenue, I think there was one section for paying some prior year invoices, $2,848 too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions of Senator Michelle? Senator Wiggins, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's a comment, and see if the chairman can add to it. But we did have that hearing and it was pretty interesting about the cost of the wine. And we have we've obligated, was it $100 million or something for the warehouse?
I think it was 55 million.
55 million. And what came out at the hearing was that 60% of that is to store wine. And there have been bills going through this legislature about direct shipment of wine. And in that hearing, it was brought up that means that we're spending a significant portion just to house wine. I think it's, and what we walked away with was we need to be looking at that seriously, because we're spending $50 million to house 60% of wine. And they answered the question that if we didn't have to do that, would that reduce the cost of the warehouse? And they said yes. So I would ask if the chairman has anything to add to that, but I thought that was very significant coming out of the hearings that we had. And I appreciate Senator Michelle for doing that.
Mr. Chairman, I've also I've been corrected by our analysts. My numbers were low on those maintenance of the roof and the HVAC as everything's going up. The roof in itself is $240,000. And they're expecting the HVAC unit to come in at about 1.1 million. So you can't do anything cheap these days.
I'm sorry, if I may, I just think we've obligated 50 million of taxpayer dollars, and what we're hearing coming out of revenue, they've been upfront with us about that. And I think these are some serious decisions to be made. Are we going to spend that money to house wine?
Well, we're on two different topics. I think Senator
I'm
Michelle's
sorry.
talking about the Workers' Comp Commission and
Sorry.
you're still on DOR.
I reiterate what I
and-
said.
We're on the same page, Senator.
Well,
I'm sorry, I wanted to correct that before we voted. I thought we probably would be going to a vote. So it's quite a bit more. That's just the cost of doing business on our office buildings that the state owns.
well, obviously on the DOR issue, Senator, I mean, the funding is going to be dictated by the general legislation. So until such time as we have some general legislation that changes the dynamic, I think we're going to have to go forward as if it's
Certainly.
going to continue along the way that it has for as long as I can remember.
And I understand that. That's why I'm, with all due respect, raising the issue, because those bills have been going through, and it's just, those are decisions we have to make.
Yep, that'll be general legislation probably to come through, for sure finance, but maybe even one other committee. So we'll respond accordingly in appropriations. Thank you, Senator. Okay, so the motion on 22, 23, and 24, Senator Michelle,
Title sufficient to pass.
is title sufficient to pass. Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now moving back to 3021.
That's Employment Security Division, and that's at LBR, and I move title sufficient to pass on Senate Bill 3021.
Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Present, Senator McCollum. Thank you. That bill will be reported as well. All right, moving to Subcommittee 9, Senator Hill, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3025, Department of Mental Health. LBR is 644,811,524, and that's a decrease of $2,320. And that is the explanation of the budget is a health insurance increase of $1,795,499. Eliminating language for one-time capital expense for a mental health pilot program at MDOC, which was $550,000. Eliminate the one-time capital expense for the forensic unit at the state hospital, which is $4.9 million. And then they spent down about $348,000 in one-time non-recurring federal cash. So that's an explanation of the budget.
Right. And I think you had one prior year invoice too, correct?
Yes,
8,000.
one prior year invoice for $8,452 for the year 2021 vendor money.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Are there any questions of Senator Hill? If not,
No questions. My motion is title sufficient, do pass.
motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Moving on to Subcommittee 11, Senator Branning, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My motion is going to be that we take up Senate Bill 3026 and Senate Bill 3027 in block, please.
Does anybody want to pull one of those aside for discussion? If not, the motion is take them up in block. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3026, which is the Office of State Aid Road Construction. The Senate action on this is going to be $189,821,822, and it's a decrease of $156,786 just to delete some vacant pins. And then Senate Bill 3027, which is the Tennessee Tom Bibby Waterway Development Authority. The Senate action on this, which is LBR, will be $475,194, and there's just a decrease of around $11,000 in contractual services. Happy to yield for questions. Otherwise, title sufficient to pass on the block, please.
Any questions? If not, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving to Subcommittee 12, Senator Butler, you are recognized. I want to get your mic, Senator Butler.
Chairman, I would like to, Subcommittee 12 committee, I would like to take up these in block. Senate Bill 3028, the chiropractor, Senate Bill 3029, Senate Bill 3030, Senate Bill 3031, 32, 33, and Senate Bill 3034. I'd like to take them up in blocks.
Thank you. The motion is to take those up in block. Does anyone wish to pull one of those aside for discussion? Seeing none, the motion is all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you are recognized. Take them up in block.
But Senate Bill 3028, chiropractor examiners, it was funded at LBR, no changes made. And with Senate Bill 3029, dental examiners, it was level funded at LBR. No changes made there. Senate Bill 3030, general services, level funded at LBR. And Senate Bill 3031, level funded also at LBR. With the pharmacy board, we'll find that there were a few changes in there, and it was level funded at one extent, but also there were 30,000 put in there to replace vehicles. And that was the changes made in the pharmacy board. And for Senate Bill 3033, it was level funded at LBR. Senate Bill 3034, Veteran Services, level funded at LBR. And that at $192,612. That concludes our report, Mr. Chair. I so move that House officials do pass.
Thank you, Senator Butler. One comment on that Board of Pharmacy, they are apparently moving their location, and they've got some it's all special funds, but they've got escalation language in there of up to $300,000 for their relocation out of their special fund authority. Any questions about any of the bills from Senator Butler? If not, his motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Butler. Those will be reported. Next, moving to Subcommittee 14, Senator Turner Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bills 3035, 3036, well, 3035 is architecture, 3036 is gaming commission, 3037 geologist, 3038 motor vehicle commission, 3039 public accountancy, 3040 public contractors be taken up in block.
Does any senator wish to set aside any of the bills for discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to take them up in block. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Architecture, Senate action is $1,878 above LBR. It's basically for restoration of contractual services. 3036 Gaming Commission, Senate action is at LBR. Board of Registered Professional Geologists, Senate Bill 3037 at LBR, Senate action. 3038 Motor Vehicle Commission is $1,586 above LBR, which represents travel and MMRS fees. Public Accountancy Board 3039 is $8,000 above LBR, Senate action for contractual services. Board of Public Contractors is $18,000 above LBR. And then the last one, that is the last one. So if there are no questions, I move title sufficient to pass.
Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Those bills will be reported. Moving to Subcommittee 15, Senator Polk, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to take up in block number Senate Bill 3041, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50.
Does anyone wish to pull any of those bills aside for discussion? Not, the motion is to take them up in block. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator Polk, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The total of all these operations for the state government totals $1,064,930,000. Of that amount, $540,698,000 is debt service. So when you take that out, we're looking at about $500 million to operate our state government on these agencies. Everything was done at LBR, and there were really no unusual exceptions to any of them. And every one of the bills has a reverse repealer. So if there are no questions, I move that we have title sufficient to pass.
Does anyone have any questions? First of all, Senator Delano, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this includes DPS, doesn't it?
No, we've already covered.
No, that's, I'm sorry.
Okay, this is, then I apologize. Disregard.
Thank you. Senator Blackwell, you are recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. More of a clarification. I thought you only went down to 50. I don't know that you said 51.
I did not. I missed that one.
So I just want to make sure we include that.
Thank you, Senator Blackwell. We'll cover that one next, but we've got the motion right now to take up 41 through 50 in block. Are there any questions about those items? No? Then your motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, back to 3051. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. 3051 is the Treasury Debt Service, which is $500,000 for bank charges. I think we all have those in our own accounts, so we kind of understand that. So if there are no questions, title sufficient to pass.
And the amount this year is 433,423,000 that we'd pay off. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions of Senator Polk? If not, his motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I'm going to go back to, we've got two more subcommittees. I'm going to go back to Senator Polk and Senator Frazier. I just noticed we don't have your community colleges in the packet, but she's trying to track those down. So we'll try to get those momentarily, but I'll recognize Senator Parks at this point to explain subcommittee 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to take up the following block, 3000, 3001, 3002, 3003, 3004, 3005, 3006, 3007, and 3008.
Does any senator wish to pull one of those bills, set it aside for discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to take them up in block. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator Parks, you are recognized to explain them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you all can see, these are all still funded at flat of LBR.
Can you pull your mic a touch closer so
Sure.
we can hear you? Thank you.
As you can see, these are all being funded at LBR. And with that being said, we are looking at 1.3 million, 1,335,280,434 for that flat rate, along with the federal funding. And with that added in with the federal funding, we're at 1.355 billion for the totals. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And I also like to make the comment too, that all the capital expenses are being reappropriated, that the fundings that could not be utilized over the past year. So those are being, those special projects are being set back aside for this year. Also for the heirs, just to make that known, that a reappropriations at 900K to be divided as usual. But I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
One other comment too. We moved, last year we put in the IHL general support bill language for the poultry science program at Alcorn State, and that was a late addition. We're taking it out of the IHL bill this year and moving it to Alcorn State's ag bill. So it's the, zero sum gain. Nothing's changing other than switching it from the IHL general support bill to the Alcorn State bill, which is what we probably should have done last year. We did on the state court education, one of the subsidiaries, the state court education program, we put some extra money in there last year and we're deleting that section. But that's the only other thing. And UMMC, that Asylum Hills project, I think last year we had put some money towards the removal of the graves at Asylum Hill and reinterring those. And so I think the amount that I've got is 2.956,902,000 for that, the continuation and reappropriation on that project that we're still working on. Thank you, Senator Parks. Any other questions on those bills? Okay. All right. No, if no other questions, the motion was title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Corbin tells me now that the community and junior colleges board and support bills are actually page 3 of the IHL, what I call the IHL packet. So subcommittee 3 is attached to subcommittee 2. So if you'll flip over a couple pages, you'll find the community and junior college board and support bills. And Senator Frazier, you are recognized to explain those. You want to hit the mic?
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. I want to call up Senate Bills 3009 and 3010 and call them in a block.
Senator asked to take up 39 and 3010 in block. Any discussion? Anybody want to set one aside? Not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator Frazier, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3009, we're adopting that at level funding. Right, Senate bill adopted at level funding for the bill, but there will be a verse repeal added to this. And also, you're going to notice that we have a state support of EEF at $356,000. And we did put a reverse repeal in here. And that is due to the fact that we had to delete a section 19 that dealt with their School of Nursing. And also, we had to delete section 19 from the bill that dealt with their CTA at the community colleges.
Senator, the only other one that I'm not sure I heard, you may have said this, was given that special fund authority for them on the tech programs for the additional 300,000 for the virtual community college workforce online training program. You may have mentioned that and I just didn't hear you.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Frazier. Any other questions on Senate Bills 30? What were those numbers again?
3009 and 3010.
3009 and 3010. Seeing, hearing none, all in favor on the motion title sufficient to pass, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We have one other bill before we rise and report, and I will recognize Senator Polk to explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be Senate Bill 3052. It's an ARPA bill. Surprise, surprise.
Should be on your desks, at your chairs.
Okay. As you know, when the legislature appropriated ARPA funds last session, the funding was providing agencies for multiple years. But based on the Mississippi Constitution, Section 64, the legislature can only appropriate funds for 1 year, and in some instances, 1 year, 2 months, and other instances, 18 months. So therefore, we have to reappropriate these ARPA funds each year to allow the state agencies to expend the funds in the following fiscal year. This is the bill we use each year to reappropriate the ARPA funds to the agencies. The legislature fully intends to keep our obligations, which were created in the previous session, with the ARPA funds. This is a very common practice done each legislative session. One example being the DFA Bureau of Buildings reapportionment bill for a reappropriation bill, House Bill 1643 of 2023. The bill appropriates over $350 million in capital expense funds and special funds that the legislature has appropriated to agencies for various building projects each session. So with that said, the bill that you have before you reappropriates the funds that you appropriated last year to make sure that the continuity is there and we could continue paying the agencies the monies that they were promised when we passed that bill last year. Three things that I do want to point out is that the ones we are not going to have to reappropriate are $50 million for the UMMC adult hospital renovation that was vetoed by the governor. The National Guard informs us that the $10 million they gave them, they will spend this year. And the DFA health insurance, $60 million that we did to help shore up that fund because of the coronavirus, they've informed us they have spent those funds. Other than that, the same appropriations exist. So if there are no questions, Mr. Chairman, title sufficient do pass on the bill.
Question, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On section 3, where we're talking about the DEQ funds for municipal water and county water infrastructure, we've all gotten letters from the Gulf Coast Region Utility Authorities to ask to make sure that the language is appropriate for them to be able to apply for those grants. Is there any question now that we need to add additional language for Gulf Coast Region Utility Authorities? Because our counties do not have the water in 5 of those counties. It's regional utility authorities.
Did they apply for the DEQ grants?
I believe they did.
Okay. There is a general bill alive, I'm told, that will make that happen if we pass it.
Okay, well, we definitely need to put it somewhere because they're left out, I believe, based on, we thought last year that it would be included, but with the letters that we got, they feel like they must have been left out.
Well, we got to make sure the general bill gets through. And then, of course, this is just the appropriations vehicle for that. So if the general bill passed, we'll get that funded in here.
Because we need general language somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator Butler, you're recognized.
Yes, so is this any new money or this just the money that we did last year?
It's the money we did last year.
So we still got over 300 million left out of the 1.8 billion, correct? All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Senator Seymour, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, is that 1512, the Senate bill that we sent over, or 2512 with the general language.
I don't keep up with the numbers of the bills, but Corbin could probably look it up real quickly and tell you.
Well, the reason I'm asking is we have the Gulf Coast, the utility authorities there, but we also have 6 others that were created through local and privates. I've been trying to get the other senators together to get the way they are named for the legislation.
The general bill is 2444. Thank you. Senator Butler, Albert Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For clarification, Senator Pope, those water resource agencies that applied and they did not receive funds before, will they be able to receive funds out of the general?
Are you talking about the water associations?
Yes.
The water associations was not a match of any kind. It was a grant only. And the health department expended those funds and it was $300 million.
So you said they expended the fund.
Well, they have not sent the checks maybe, but they have done their rating system and everything and approved a certain number of them that got approved.
With the new monies, will associations that were not covered under the first round, will they be able to be covered?
Right now, unless we put more money in that program, the $300 million, there will not be a second round. The first round took care of all the request, didn't take care of the request, but they were able to handle the requests they had, and those that didn't get funded will be out unless we figure out how to give them more money, the health department to expend.
Thank you, Senator Butler. Are there other questions? Not.
Title sufficient to pass.
The motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. One comment before we rise and report. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a general question.
Okay, question, Senator Wiggins.
And I apologize, I probably should have brought up at the beginning of the meeting. I've seen different things and I recently saw a media report about PERS and can you tell us what that stands? Because going into this session, it was based on the board's recommendation, as I understood it, we were going to have to fund those positions the PERS increase. So that was my question.
Well, we don't have a PERS bill in front of us here and now. It's my understanding there's some discussions with PERS. I don't know if I should get into it too much because I don't know all the details and I don't want to certainly convey any message that's not accurate. But it's, I don't think right now, and we got time, but I don't think right now there's going to be any need to fund. I think their initial decision was to start the employer increase in October. If nothing changes on that, then we'll certainly have to either figure out, we've got to take some action to fund that through the agencies, or, if we don't fund it significantly, then the agencies are going to take a huge hit. But we've got time on that. Nothing's going to happen today. And maybe something comes out with PERS here in the next few days. I think their next meeting is February the 28th, PERS board.
But fair enough. But the hit, if that was to be taken, it could be hundreds of millions of dollars.
It would be roughly 265 million to the state, and the cities and counties would hit another $80 million based on the employer contributions. So I think we're looking at right at $350 million, give or take a few,
and those
hit to the state, cities and counties if nothing changes.
And those are general fund dollars that we would have to use generally.
Yeah, well, you've got to figure that it's coming through each agency.
Right.
And then in the case of cities and counties, it's got to come through their budgets too. It would be, you never know how things could change, but it would be recurring expenses. So we would have to use general fund dollars. I mean, we could one time it with special funds, but you're going to come back the next year and you're going to have to hit it with general funds.
And that would go against our policy that we've established of using recurring funds for recurring expenses.
Absolutely. It'd be recurring unless something changed and they reduce the employer contribution, or the legislature changes something to, with the PERS authority to unilaterally increase the employer contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wiggins. My comment, unless there are other questions, was, look, good comments today. I think many of you, thank you to the subcommittee chairs for digging in on these bills. and heard a few things today about some things that will be additional expenses. Y'all know that LBR is kind of the starting point for the budget. But certainly there's some things, just like Senator Michelle mentioned, Workers' Comp Commission needing a roof and HVAC, and there are other things like that. So make sure you're getting with your agencies and getting with Corbin and me to let us know what's going on out there, because we're going to rely on the subcommittee chairs and any member to tell us if there are certain needs out there that we need to be aware of. So thank you for your time. Good meeting, and I will entertain a motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good.